And the big news of today, I think it's great to hear Simon Taylor, CEO, founder of HYCU, talk about his company, HYCU. That's great. But the thing that I think HYCU was searching for over the last 5-6 years was not how to build better and more integrations. It was how to get these accessible to the world at large. And when we thought about all the companies in the world that are out there selling great technology, there was only one that was incredibly focused, laser focused, in fact, on driving all of the infrastructure for all of artificial intelligence worldwide. And it was Dell. And, this began a relationship that started about 2 years ago with my great friend and executive sponsor, David Noy, here from Dell. And David said to me, there is so much synergy here, Simon. And of course, I nodded vigorously. He said, what if we put you on the price book for Dell? And what if we put you into the ETC program and we start to sell synergistically with PPDM and with Dell at large? And it has been just, honestly, the honor of my career to get to work with this man right here. I'm so thrilled and excited, but he's here to talk about it and to talk about what Dell is doing, in this space. But what I want you to take away from all of this is HYCU is about total coverage. We have invested an enormous amount of money, time, dollars, and resources into building great technology. Dell is about making sure the entire world is protected. Mm-hmm. And so our major goal is to make sure that all of the millions of customers that are using Dell, whether it's for data domain or DDVE, whatever it is, that all of these integrations here translate to what this man here is working on.
David Noy, I'm the Vice President of Product Management at Dell for the data protection portfolio. It's been about 10 years since I've been at a field days, so I'm back, still alive and kicking. I'm going to go into a little bit about why people use Dell for cloud data protection. I'm going to cover a couple of topics, but just to give you an idea, Simon mentioned a few acronyms. Within our data protection portfolio, the key tenets are the PowerProtect data domain, which is, everyone's known it for a long time as a data domain product. We got 25,000 customers globally, and I'll share with you some statistics about what we have in cloud. We have the PPDM PowerProtect Data Manager product, which is our own backup software. Now, we excel in certain on-prem workloads. We also have some legacy products like Networker that are still being used for backup by very large organizations globally. And then we have our own cyber resilience suites. But let's talk about why people use Dell in a cloud context. So number one is avoiding CSP lock-in. If you're backing up data to CSP infrastructure, and I'll walk you through an example in a moment, you get locked into the CSP's infrastructure. So how do you abstract yourself away from that so that you can move data to other clouds or repatriate to on-prem and do that in a cost-effective way? Number two is reducing TCO. So I had my team poll last week. Tell me what the global deduplication ratio is for data domain for all of our customers across all deployments through the telemetry that's coming home. Turns out average deduplication is 50 to 1. 50 to 1 deduplication across all of our data domain estate. The next one is around security. So the bottom line is, when you're deploying infrastructure for data protection, this is your your solution of last resort. If you lose this, that's bad news. Every person who is a data protection professional, every backup administrator woke up about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and found out that they have a second job. They're now the cybersecurity person too. They're the cybersecurity person and the backup person. And why is that? Why isn't it the network person? Why not the virtual machine infrastructure admin? And the reason is, oftentimes you don't know that something bad happened until it happened. And the person who's going to get you out of that jam is the backup admin. That's number one. Number two is it's a cordoned off infrastructure. So if you're going after primary storage, you have to vector into the data protection storage. That person is going to be the one who's going to rescue you when you find out that something's gone. Get me back to 3 days ago, 4 days ago, what's the last known good copy? But there are other reasons why people look to us for security. We include retention lock capabilities. There are federal certifications that need to be in the product to make sure that the storage is compliant with federal requirements. You have to be built invulnerable, and that if you have a data corruption issue, something happens, drives fail, that you can recover from it no matter what. Another important thing is having a uniform solution for protecting storage that's being used for data protection on-prem and off-prem, so that your administrators only have to learn one technology. Last is the cloud ecosystem. And what Simon just walked us through, and I just learned what HYCU means, it means hybrid cloud uptime. Great, I got it. And it makes a lot of sense, is that while we are focused on our entire portfolio, I talked about data domain, PPDM, our backup software, the number one thing that I'm focused on is maintaining the industry-leading market share of PowerProtect data domain. We have almost 50% of the entire purpose-built backup appliance market. For target storage, we're actually around 80%. And we're absolutely committed to making sure we grow that. And the way that we do that is we provide the best storage solution for backup data, but we lean into an ecosystem of partners. Because what Simon just said is he's got 80 SaaS services and they can add services very quickly. They understand the workloads and they're able to drive those workloads data into our storage solution. We believe we have the industry best solution for protected storage. But ecosystem partners are going to help us avoid that problem. What was it? I forget what the name, equivalence. But the idea is like, look, if we have to sit here and spend a year every single time we've got to go pick up a new workload, and this environment is changing so fast. Think about the AI application and SaaS vendors that have popped up just in the last year alone. We're not going to do that. We're going to rely on our software partners like HYCU to go and lean into that. So we have a product within the data domain called Boost. And Boost is a transport protocol for moving data from the application to our storage. It's a secure protocol. It is a very highly efficient protocol, sending only the minimum amount of data across the wire. That reduces your egress, ingress. It reduces your exposure to somebody hacking the transmission because it's an encrypted transmission. We have Boost partners, and HYCU is now a Boost partner. So they're able to actually use that the protocol to basically send data into the PowerProtect data domain. Now I'm going to give you some stats. You may not have known this, but we have 1,800 PowerProtect data domain DDVE virtual customers in cloud today. And we've ingested 24 exabytes of front-end capacity. 24 exabytes of front-end capacity. That's a lot of front-end capacity. We operate in all the major clouds, Amazon, Azure, Google. We're also in Ali Cloud, protecting all the different workloads, but again, not all of them through our own backup software, but again, leading into partners like HYCU. And part of the reason why we did the ETC relationship is because we want access to these workloads and we want access to these cloud workloads in a way that we can add them as fast as possible. So let's talk a little bit about why PowerProtect data domain matters so much in cloud. If you look at some of the cloud native data protection solutions, it's basically take a snapshot, store it to object storage. That's fine, but that's very tape-like. Why is it tape-like? If you move it into something like Glacier, you're going to pay for taking it out. You've now put yourself into a vendor's proprietary storage solution. Migrating between clouds, migrating back to on-prem, difficult thing to do. You're going to pay for egress, you're going to pay for promoting that data and accessing it, and you got to move it to a different format. Not great. No compression, no deduplication. Well, you get compression, but no deduplication. The 50-to-1, you're not going to get that in a cloud vendor. And I don't care if you go to the cheapest Amazon Glacier or Azure Cold Blob, you're not going to get the kind of economics of 50-to-1. It's just not going to happen. So, okay, what if by abstracting away and building a technology layer above the cloud vendor's object storage, you could get the benefits of all of the security features I talked about, the vaulting, the ability to compress your data down through deduplication, 50-to-1, and then still persist it on the cloud vendor's infrastructure, but taking advantage of all those other benefits. And that's really what we have here is basically the DDVE, Data Domain Virtual Edition, is taking the data domain core file system, ripping it off the data domain appliance, but making it actually run as a virtual machine in cloud. And then this is where HYCU will go and have the workload understanding to transfer that data in a workload context to data domain for long-term retention or for backup storage and recovery. Simple as that. So give you an example of how much cost reduction you can get. This is real-world example. On AWS, if you're just to use native infrastructure, you're looking at about a $7K for the particular workload that we looked at, $7.5K. After you take into account the DDVE license, as well as all of the cost of infrastructure underneath DDVE, we're able to drive that down by about 75%, 66%. At the end of the day, DDVE consists of the data domain file system running on compute nodes in the cloud, so native EC2 instances, Azure compute instances, Google compute instances, but it runs on top of the native cloud object storage. So we are using object storage underneath the covers, but we've built a secure layer on top of it that basically gives you all the benefits of that deduplication, and then cost-effective data transmission, all encrypted, and then potentially even retention locked down to the data bits themselves. Dynamically tiered if you wanted to do that as well. Okay, so this is really, what we're leaning into. As I said, 24 exabytes, 1,800 customers. But we want to make sure that in the cloud, we're providing our customers with all of the support for the various workloads that they're onboarding. That's why we're leading into our ecosystem partners. That's why I'm here today. And so we'll talk a little bit more about some examples of customers who are doing this sort of stuff as we go through the sessions today. And the HYCU team will take you through some more of what they're up to. But I wanted to at least give you sort of the ground level view of what it is that we provide as Dell and why we're so interested in this partnership.
You find that the drive down on pricing because of time and market and the deduplication and the efficiencies you've gotten have really helped your stability and growth, and now HYCU is a great add-on because they've got the application layer intelligence.
Yeah.
It looks to me like you highlighted costs and size and retention a lot. Seems like those have been the sort of most successful factors in how big data domain has remained over the years.
Yeah, I mean, look, data domain is a specialized storage solution. It essentially, it's making a bet on, I can use CPU, so I'm probably going to cost a little bit more on the CPU side, but by investing more heavily in CPU, I can actually reduce data down to a point where you get a net benefit on the storage. That's why it was so successful in the on-prem. But what customers then said is, that's great, but I want to be able to use that in the cloud, because if you look at cloud infrastructure, it's multiples more expensive than on-prem. Mm-hmm. So to the extent that you can actually bring that down and make it more cost effective, now going to a hybrid cloud, maybe it's a 50-50 mix, maybe it's a 60-40 mix, is a lot more economical, and it actually makes more sense. And now if you're a customer who's hedging between two different cloud vendors, and you're basically doing data transmission between the two, you can get hit with some pretty heavy egress fees. If I dedupe things down 50 to 1, and then I'm only transmitting 2% of the original data footprint across the wire, that's a great economics thing as well. So at the end of the day, it's economics, resilience, and then support for modern applications, and that's where we lead into our partners.
Nice.
So with regards to the go-to-market for this, because if this is 100% indirect partners, and that's what Dell provides, do you have a trained sales force that's specific to this? And to what extent do you package this with Dell hardware?
I see. Let's disambiguate. So HYCU is 100% partner-driven. Dell is a combination of partners and direct sellers.
Right.
So we have an established, for the last couple of decades, 25,000 customer base for the data domain product. We sell quite a bit through channel. So I talk to channel partners globally all the time. But there's a pretty well-established buyer base for data domain. But it's available either through a Dell direct seller, through a channel partner, or even through the marketplace. So we have marketplace offerings for DDV. If you go to AWS or Azure Marketplace, you'll find this listed as well.
So there's not a direct sales force through Dell?
We do have a direct sales force as well. So all of the different routes to market, as you can imagine, this is a multi-billion-dollar product portfolio. So it's pretty well diversified across all the different sales and go-to-market.
So it's relatively equal between the channels, between direct and indirect?
Well, I would say channel is more than 50% share.
Okay.
And then direct accounts for your really high-end customers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's going to be some who will come in through marketplace as well. And those are usually done through private offer.
Okay, thanks.
Is there some sort of preferential pricing or hybrid benefit of using both Dell's data domain product and HYCU versus a different storage backend for your backups that you're generating through HYCU?
So I'm representing Dell, not HYCU, but what I will say is that the TCO that we drive as Dell, we can show TCO calculators, and we can show basically what the benefits of using our storage is. Mm-hmm. What we've done through the ETC relationship is we've allowed the Dell seller to go in and actually quote both HYCU software and Dell storage on a quote from Dell.
Okay.
So that actually simplifies that. So from a customer's perspective, they see one quote, but they see all the products
On
there.
Dell paper then.
On Dell paper. Now it could be, we'll oftentimes sell our own backup software as well. In fact, we want to do that primarily, but we don't have the coverage that they have in terms of, different cloud SaaS offers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.